Well, just to tell a long story, I feel like a lot of lessons, and even in the performance-based space that we've been talking about, it's what's called chauffeur knowledge. You ever hear that term? There was, I think it was Niels Bohr, a famous physicist, and he would go and he would do. He did the same lecture like 100 times over the last half of his life, and his chauffeur would come with him, and his chauffeur would come into the lectures, and after 80 or so of these, his chauffeur said, Niels, I've heard this lecture so much I could give it. And so Neil said, okay, next time you give the lecture. And so they switched places and switched clothing, and sure enough, the chauffeur got up there and gave the lecture note for note, word for word. But then the question and answer period came, and some very ambitious young physicist stood up and asked a very complicated question, and the chauffeur, improvising, said, that's such an easy question, I'll let my chauffeur handle it. So it's but that really speaks to the difference between
imitation and mastery.
Imitation and mastery. So, I find that in our world, a lot of guitar players, for example, learn from tablature. And tablature is a great tool, but I always say it should be your last tool. Learning things by ear is your best way because it goes to a better part of the brain. I don't have the best ear, but I force myself to try to learn things by ear first because it forces the connections between previous knowledge to link in rather than just rote memorization. If I can't do it that way, then I'll go to chord charts. And only if I can't figure out a part that's particularly difficult will I seek the tablature. And then in doing that, it's the oldest saying in the world in education. If you give a man a fish, he eats today. If you teach a person to fish, they eat forever. So what I really want these new students that I'm working with to learn is the foundational principles that underlie all music. I mean all music. You can, most classical music follows a 1-4-5 chord progression with the occasional 6 for dramatic effect. And, the same chord progression is under Three Little Birds, Wild Thing, and Eine Kleine Nacht music. They're all just 1-4-5 chord progressions. So one of the first lessons I give my new students is to show them how what's called the 1-5-6-4 progression is universal. And whatever your favorite song is and whatever your least favorite song is, it has nothing to do with the chord progression because chord progressions there's not that many of them and they're reasonably universal. And what really matters is performance, style, and melody. So an example I do is I'll play this one chord progression. Now, any musicians, especially you with perfect pitch out there, I'm going to play a bunch of songs all in the same key, thereby someone will be in the wrong key. But just to sort of demonstrate how the same 1-5-6-4 progression probably encapsulates 2 of your favorite songs and 4 songs you don't like very much at all. So. It's chord progression. Anger, he smiles, towering in shiny metallic purple armor. Or Taylor Swift. It feels like a perfect night to make fun of our exes. Or the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Sometimes I feel like don't have a partner. Or Billy Joel's worst song. We didn't start the fire. Or na 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 na. Or everybody's favorite drunken anthem. Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. In fact, if you actually look at the 90s, I think 7 out of every 10 hits in the 90s had this chord progression, which just kind of became the universal thing. And then that's true of we did a show of 80s music once, and I discovered the same chord progression popping up over and over again, which was, let me get it right, 1-5-4, 1-5. So instead of 6, it's 2-4. And then you get, come on Eileen, oh I swear that I mean, it's not dirty, so come on Eileen. Goes there. And also, our house in the middle of our, show me how, I'm out of key, trick, the one that makes me scream, she said. And it was just like this so with my kids, every song I have them learn, I tell me the numbers. That's what I always want to know. Tell me the numbers. Don't tell me the chords. Tell me what the numbers are. And I'm a big Frank Zappa fan, and he has the funniest song title. And feel free to edit this segment as you see fit. But there's a song, it's just a little guitar jam, and he calls it Variations on the Carlos Santana Secret Chord Progression. And it's just because all the Santana songs are 2-5. So you go. change your evil ways, baby. But it's also Breathe by Pink Floyd. Breathe, breathe in the air. It's also Good Times. Good times. These are the good times. It's all, and then I recently had to learn Uptown Funk by, Bruno Mars for a gig. And I was like, 2-5. And my ear's terrible, but as soon as I heard it, I've just played all those other 2-5 songs so many times. Because what these kids have to realize is, when we do a show, we'll rehearse for 3 months getting ready for it. But when they go out into the real world, they might just rehearse at sound check. So to have the set of tools of just to understand the numbers underneath the music, because that's how seasoned musicians talk to each other. They don't say, "What's this song? G, D, E minor." They go 1, 4, 6. So there you go. That's the lesson.